Yeah, so I've been recording this. So this is day 4 of teaching D&D to 9, 11-year-olds. So we ran the 9-year-old's dungeon, and it took all day. He was so detailed, and he runs it better than I do. And he's like, oh yeah, no, you do this and you roll this. Now roll a 12 or better, and he's doing all this stuff. So so the dungeon starts out, and they find this room, and in the room there's a chest, right? So they open up the chest, and he's like, okay, you find 3 arrows and a cobweb and a spider. And I said, oh, okay. And they're like, and he's like, do you take the cobweb? And the lady's like, the grad or the student teacher, she's like, why would I take a cobweb? And so I said, what's the spider's name? And he's like, Jimmy. And I said, okay, Jimmy the spider. So we go around and they do all this other stuff. I'm watching. I'm just like helping him. So I'm not playing at this point, although at one point I did jump in and play. And so at one point, somebody climbs a column, and it's a big deal because he's like, do you want to investigate the column, the wall? What do you want to do? And he gives them a hint that there's a secret door in the wall. They didn't catch the hint. And then so she climbs the column, and he's like, yeah, you investigate the column and you climb the column, but there's nothing there except for a cobweb and a spider. It's the same spider from before. It's Jimmy. So that became a thing. So Jimmy was like 4 different places, right? So we're like, Jimmy, like Jimmy, we saw Jimmy, And then there was an altar, and he was like, do you want to open the chest or you want to investigate the altar? So the one kid said, I want to open the chest. So he gets something. So I said, well, I want to go and pray at the altar. And he's like, oh. He says, okay, so you pray at the altar and you hear this spirit say, here's 30 gold pieces, and so he gave me like money. I said, wow. And then somebody said, I want your money. I said, go ahead. I can just pray at this altar and get as much money as I want, apparently. I said, I knew prayer worked. So then somebody else said, well, I want to pray at the altar. So he prays at the altar, and the kid says, you hear a voice, and it says, LOL, JK, we ain't got no more money. So we finally make it to the final room. We have all these hidden keys. There's keys and hidden doors, and there's like spikes that are like in the walls are closing in, and you have to run across before the spikes get you in. Really detailed stuff, like Indiana Jones type stuff. And then we get to the final room, and there's a bunch of skeletons, and I have these little figures, and I must bought them at Dollar Tree or something, and they're Disney figures. So one of them looks like Captain Hook, right? But they thought it looked like Farquaad from Shrek, the prince. But anyway, it does look similar because he's got the long face and the chin and the ugly nose. So, but it was Captain Hook. He's got a big hat and a sword. And then there's a dragon. So Captain Hook is the minion of the dragon. And anyway, he says, yeah, you see that? And you see a fire. And on the fire, you see Jimmy, you see a spider, and he's been cooked. And so we're like, no, not Jimmy. So we're like, for Jimmy! And we all charge Captain Hook, right? So we're like, we're going to throw Captain Hook on the fire for throwing Jimmy on the fire. So then we end up calling Captain Cook because we cooked Captain Hook. So, oh my God, it was so funny.
Oh, they use their imagination.
Oh, so funny. So for Jimmy. That was the catchword of the catchphrase of the day. Yeah. Too funny.
Only one more day?
One more day, and we got to run 2 more. Well, we have to run the end of the one guys that we did yesterday because we didn't finish. I didn't realize we didn't finish. And then we have to run the other kids, and that's probably all the time we'll have because this one took forever. It just went on and on and on. But now they know how to do it.
Yeah.
So I taught them.
Yeah.
they can do this. So they can play with their friends and family now.
Yeah.
And they know exactly what to do it. And they're going to have dice. And I'm going to give them the little figures we've been playing with. They can keep those.
Great.
And that's it. So my job, I did my job.
That's
I
right.
taught them how to play Dungeons and Dragons. They learned a lot. And then I taught them about investing because they're all about money. So I told them about compound interest.
Oh my goodness.
I said, the earlier you start, I said, you know, you can you put $100 in the bank when you're 15 and nobody, you know, even if you just put that money in and never add to it, it's going to be this much, you know, 30 years from now. I said, somebody who starts with their 25 is never going to catch up. So I told him that. And then we talked about, I told him about low cost mutual fund investing, index fund investing. I taught him what VTI is, total market index fund. It's 1,000 stocks. It's all spread out, so you don't have the risk. I read it on the wall. And the 11-year-old kid, he knew all about it. We're talking about it. He's like, yeah. He's like, there's all these companies. I said, yeah. I said, so if Amazon's really hot right now, but if they go down the tubes 10 years from now, they will have already been replaced in that fund. So you don't have to worry about that. It's like, you don't have to think about it. And he's like, oh, okay. So at least I taught them something. I don't know. Maybe years from now they'll go back and say, maybe they'll be like, oh, I remember that D&D guy telling me to buy the total market index fund.
Yeah, and they'll talk to him and they'll say, well, what does that have to do with Dungeons and Dragons?
They want money. That's all these kids are about. As soon as one of them gets money, they try to steal it from the other one. And I made the rule today, you can't do that. But I gave them the money. I'm like, here, take my money. It's a dungeon. What am I going to do? Oh, and I forgot. So at one point halfway through the thing, we were going to take a break to have a snack. And so the one person said, I wish, it's the student teacher. She's like, I wish there was a McDonald's hamburger. You know, I want a McDonald's hamburger. So the kid's like, so there's a McDonald's right here. And then there was a fountain. I said, is that a soda fountain? He's like, the soda fountain's right here next to the McDonald's. So they go up and order from the McDonald's. And the one kid tries to rob the McDonald's. And so the kid says, unfortunately, sorry, sir, we're closed. And he closes down this big gate so that they can't rob the McDonald's. I said, there's no money there anyway. Everybody uses credit cards. There's no money in that safe.
So they did the gas
He's like,
station.
yeah, the gas station, now McDonald's. Yeah. And I said, and then Tara's like, they're like, you know, they're going to ask you
And
to,
then they'll
like,
go
if
take
you
the
want to
money
work
and
here,
invest.
take the stolen money and invest. Well, I told, you know, like, that's what I'm telling them. Like, you don't have to steal it. It'll make money for you if you invest it.
Yeah,
Because the
people
20-year-old
interest,
is
yes.
telling them how much debt she has.
Oh no.
Yeah, because she's like in college and she's got all this student debt. And the guy's like, do you have a car? She said, I don't have a car. If I could buy a car, I'd pay off my debt.
Yeah.
You know? And I'm like, wow.
But I just said today, I heard that they said that
So that's it. I'm going to turn this off.
kids nowadays are